Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be covering the patch notes for the update releasing today, November 28th. There are an insane amount of changes in today's patch notes, including things such as some major victim nerfs, significant map adjustments, perk changes, and even some changes to the family members. It's crazy how many adjustments we're going to see in TCM, and there's quite a bit of content to cover for today. Of course, we'll be getting Danny and Nancy in this patch, and we'll be covering a lot more information on the new characters in another video later today, so make sure to subscribe if you want to stay up to date on all the new content releasing. We'll be covering three main sections of the patch notes to break things down, but there are some very important changes in all of the different categories we're going to cover today. There are so many cool changes, and I'm just excited to jump into all of them. We're going to start with the changes listed, then move on to what the developers tuned, and lastly, some of the fixes that the developers made. Again, there are various balancing adjustments with each of the sections, and I'd love to hear what you think of the changes down in the comments. When it comes to the fixes section, we will only be covering the noteworthy ones, as there are an insane amount of fixes listed, and I don't necessarily think we need knowledge on every single one. I've left a link to the patch notes down in the description, and I've also divided today's video into timestamps so you can skip to any section of the notes you may be looking for. If you find this video to be helpful today, feel free to drop a like, as it helps me to continue making content here on YouTube. But let's get moving on these patch notes. All right, so we're gonna start things out at the top of the changes here. And these are basically some gameplay and quality of life changes that you can expect to see in Texas Chainsaw starting today. So the first change that we have listed here is character outlines when making noise. We have changed how character outlines function when triggering noisemakers. Players who make noise will now have a red noise outline attached to them for a few seconds. Making noise with bone charms, nuggets, bone piles, door slams, and toolboxes will be affected. Sliding metal doors will not. This is intended to incentivize stealthy play. So this is a decently large change, especially in the way that a lot of players will go about playing Texas Chainsaw in an aggressive fashion. And it's definitely going to help family members out when it comes to tracking as well. I honestly am pretty excited for this change, but let's keep moving on. All right, next up we have a mute all option. They've essentially just added an option to quickly mute all players in the lobby, which is really nice for quality of life. After that, we've got an auto crouch toggle. They've added the option to toggle auto crouch on or off, and it can just be found in the input sections of the option menu. Another nice quality of life change there. They've also decided to change Nancy's house valve tank locations. So they've just incorporated some feedback from the slaughterhouse map to improve Nancy's house, which I think is a nice quality of life, but not something we'll really notice as players. After that, we've got this pretty big change. Victim abilities will now start the match with a 60-second cooldown. And I think the big intention with this is they are trying to incentivize some more stealth play and to slow the match down as well. But this is a pretty big victim nerf for sure, and we'll kind of see how this ends up playing out. After that, we've got the hitchhiker traps and pressure valves. They've removed the safe zone in front of the pressure valve so that the hitchhiker can trap the device. A nice little quality of life change and a little bit of a buff to family members on that front. Going forward there, we've got the gas station smoke room. They've decided to add a gate to the smoke room exit. We've also closed the gap between the smoke room and the side room. So this is actually a fairly significant change, and it should slow down how quickly victims can escape from the gas station on this side of the map. And I am excited to see how that works out in game as well. After that, we've got hiding invite codes. We've made some invite codes able to be hidden. This should help to reduce unwanted sharing of the codes. So just a little privacy change there. After that, we've got our valve pressurizing after close. When family closes the valve, it will now build pressure back up, reducing victim progress towards the gate opening. So another fairly significant change there to the valve mechanic as well. And it does seem like they did focus on that quite a bit for today's patch. They've also changed variable lobby timer. We've changed the behavior of lobby timer depending on how many players have hit ready. If 5 out of 7 players in a lobby hit ready, the lobby timer will drop to 30 seconds. I think this is a fantastic change. I think this is something Texas Chainsaw has really needed in terms of getting lobbies moving more quickly. So I'm really excited to see how this works out as well. Just below that, we've got Grandpa Awakened cutscene. They have removed the Grandpa Awakened cutscene. It's been replaced with a simple banner notification to inform players. I think this was causing a lot of issues, especially if you think of things such as Leatherface's chainsaw overheating at the start of a match. I'm very happy with this change. I think it will also have a healthy impact on the flow of the game. So I'm very happy that they implemented this. Right below that, we've got Leatherface requirement. They've removed the requirement for Leatherface in every match. This change does not affect anything other than the requirement. Maps, barricades, and family spawns are unchanged. So it's nice that we can now kick off matches without a Leatherface. I'm really curious to see how that shifts some team compositions, family compositions, things of that nature. And I'm really curious to see how this plays out. But it is nice that if no one in the lobby wants to play Leatherface, they can just ready up and move on. Right below that, we've got our gas station fuse and fuse box spawns. They've changed the spawn locations for some fuses on gas station. We've changed a few spawns for the fuse box itself as well. This should help prevent scenarios where fuse spawns near a fuse box. This is really good for, once again, slowing down the match and making sure something like a fuse box escape is not incredibly fast. Again, a little bit of a victim nerf here. But on the whole, I think a healthy change. Right below that, we've got our character bio localization. We've updated and fixed some of the localizations on character bios. Just a nice quality of life change there, but that is everything we've got for the changes. All right, so now we are going to move on to what the developer team tuned for today. These are just minor tweaks that we'll see to things within the game, and they do have some implications, but let's get right through them. Firstly, they decided to tune Cook Seek ability consumption. We've adjusted the consumption rate for the Cook Seek ability. His ability should now drain while searching for noises. His ability should now continue to drain while focusing on sounds. So I'm not entirely sure how they impacted the consumption rate, if that was a positive or a negative, but nonetheless, the ability drain while focusing on sounds is a little bit of a nerf to the Cook, which I think is probably a healthy change. Just below that, they've tuned the map weighting in backend. We've opened up controls on the backend to adjust map weighting. Example, we can now make Nancy's house weighted above the others. This can help make maps come up in rotation more or less frequently, depending on setting. I think this is very good. I think a lot of the reason they did this is we do have Nancy's house releasing today as a map. But this will be nice, especially as we continue to get more maps in Texas Chainsaw, for them to change the weight of each map. Just below that, they've tuned various telemetry data events. Telemetry data can help the team balance the game as designed. This will help us more accurately balance parameters based on data. We've also disabled some unneeded events to preserve performance. The following parameters can now be tracked more accurately: specific character and specific noise trigger, time spent matchmaking, time spent in lobby, time spent in match, customization elements and popularity, platform details for network error events, match abandoned, family disabling fuse box, perk levels at match start, ability levels at match start. So this is some pretty nice quality of life stuff and some changes that I am rather excited to see for sure. But just below that, we've got our gallows kill XP. We have raised the XP earned for a gallows kill above the standard XP for an execution. We've added a notification for gallows kill when earned. I think this is awesome, and I always felt like gallows kill should be weighted a little bit more heavily, so I'm glad they did that. It looks like just below that, they have tuned the Nicotero saw volume. We've adjusted the volume for the Nicotero saw. The volume of the saw has been increased to bring it more in line with the default saw. So that's also just another nice quality of life change in terms of audio. Below that, they have tuned the Cook tags duration. We have adjusted the Cook Seek ability tag duration. This is a reduction of the amount of time victims will stay tagged. Honestly, I think this is a pretty good change, and I think Cook definitely needed a nerf or two, even if it was just to level out Johnny a little bit. So I think this is a nice change and a little buff for the victims here. After that, we've got Johnny's sprint attack. We have further tuned Johnny's lunge when attacking and sprinting. This brings him more in line with the other family members. Just a nice quality of life change there. They've also tuned Cook's Seek counter. We've adjusted the Seek ability to not detect victims who are crouched and moving slowly. Another little buff for victims here and a great quality of life change that we now have a much better counter for the Cook. And I think this is a really healthy change. Below that, we've got Nancy ability and spotting bonus. Refine the spotted a victim bonus to be more accurate when Nancy activates her ability to avoid potential spam / XP farm. Just a little tune on Nancy's ability there, and very nice. They've also tuned Wake Up Grandpa. We've adjusted the threshold for waking up Grandpa. It should now require slightly more noise to wake up Grandpa on the victim's side. Auto wake up events will still wake him up normally. So I see this as a pretty healthy change, especially with some of the changes that we've seen in terms of how noise and tracking works with the family now. I think this is rather nice, and it's I personally do like the higher threshold on the victim side of things. After that, we've got Johnny's hunt counter. We've adjusted the hunt ability to not detect victims who are crouched and moving slowly. This is really nice. It seems like they have decided to kind of nerf the trackers on the family side, which is another nice little victim buff here. And a little nerf to the trackers of the family. Just below that, we've got our slaughterhouse balance. We've made various changes to slaughterhouse in order to balance the map accordingly. Valve pressure tanks moved upstairs and out of the basement, which I think is fantastic. Moved valve handle pickup locations to be further from the tanks. Slaughterhouse building door can now have a padlock added to it. Added nuggets to the slaughterhouse building. Added nuggets to the facilities building. I think overall these are some really healthy changes to the slaughterhouse and are going to help balance that map out for sure. Just under that, they have tuned the base sensitivity defaults. We've made minor tweaks to the base control sensitivity. Overall, just a nice quality of life thing there. Just below that, they've tuned Prey Drive and Cook Seek. Previously, Cook could activate the Prey Drive perk by simply hovering over a victim. Now, Cook will need to fully spot the victim for Prey Drive to activate. So just a nice little fix there, I would say, for the Cook in terms of that perk. And I think more how it was intended on the developer side of things. They've also decided to tune the Pins and Needles perk. They've tweaked the Pins and Needles perk for Nancy to be more in line with the other perks that feature a percentage chance to keep an item. And I am excited to check out a little bit more of some of Nancy's perks later today as well. Just below that, we have security pins tuning. They've adjusted the security pins to only affect Cook's padlocks, which I think is a fantastic thing for sure. Just below that, we have slaughterhouse escape volumes. We have brought the escape volumes in towards the cattle grids on the slaughterhouse escapes to limit trolling. This is very good, especially for victims who are prolonging matches, kind of hanging out and trolling towards the end of the match. That will definitely help with that issue. Just below that, we have well jump iframes. Previously, victims could be hit multiple times on their way to a well, creating various issues. Now being hit on the way to a well will only damage the victim once and then force them into the well. Nice little change there. And I think that's gonna feel a lot better on both sides of the equation, honestly. And will definitely feel better, at least for the victims for sure. Lastly, they've adjusted haptic feedback. We've reduced the haptic feedback slightly to not feel so excessive. This won't have a huge impact on too many players, but for those players with haptic feedback, a nice little change there, and maybe it won't feel quite so over the top. All right, so we're going to start at the top of the patch notes here. Again, I only decided to talk about the highlighted patch notes that I felt had some significant implications. There are a ton of these. Again, there's a link down below if you'd like to read through all of them. But I really only felt like there were a few select good ones that we needed to talk about for today, and I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. Let's start out with Nancy trap alerts. We fixed an issue where Nancy's traps did not trigger any notifications. So of course, that's a really good change to have. Just below that, we have various footstep audio. The following audio issues have been fixed in this patch. Footsteps from players in the tunnels can be heard above ground on Family House. Phantom footsteps can be heard while standing in front of the Family House. So some nice audio changes, and I think those are relatively important as well. They've also decided to fix inconsistent range when listening to noise from items. We fixed an issue where there's an inconsistent hearing range when players went over to the noise threshold while searching for a lockpick or bone pile on the Family House. Now, when too much noise is made when grabbing a lockpick or searching a bone pile, the range the sound can be heard at is consistent between the two. I think it's really good that they made some consistency changes here, and I think that's definitely very important. Just below that, they have voice chat drops in lobby and match. We fixed an issue where voice chat isn't functional both in lobby and during a match while using push to talk and on settings. They've also fixed family stun locked after close encounters and sneak attack, which I know was quite an issue for some players. They fixed an issue where if a family member is sneak attacked after losing a close encounter, they were stun locked and unable to attack or interact with the environment for the rest of the match. So that was a pretty gnarly one, and I'm really happy they fixed that. Down below, they fixed some various crashes. You can see the reasons listed here, but I felt like that was worth mentioning, especially as Texas Chainsaw did have some pretty major crash issues. They did have issues with foliage popping in and out on the Family House, which they have also fixed, as it would potentially expose some hiding victims, which is quite a problem there for sure. But I'm glad they got that one fixed up. They've also decided to fix victims unable to move after traversing ladder on Family House. There were also a few stuck spots on gas station that were mentioned. The mattress in the house basement wood pallets while silencing Nugget at a certain angle in the compound area. And players would get stuck on a log in the compound area as well. So it's nice that they've since fixed those places where you could get stuck. Just below that, they've also fixed some illogical hiding spots on gas station. We fixed an issue where victims would be hidden in a spot in the exterior area next to the workshop, despite it being exposed and well lit on the day variant. And moving on from there, we have a fixed stamina boost regeneration when a victim disconnects. We have fixed an issue where stamina regeneration boosts for all victim players close to a victim who disconnects. So that was a pretty big issue, and I'm pretty happy they got that one fixed as well. They've also fixed engine INI file edits to remove foliage. So this is basically where players were able to change the engine INI files to remove and adjust foliage, and they've essentially just strengthened those files to combat exploitive behavior. They also fixed players gaining 2 times XP with spectator mode. Just below that, they have XP earned despite disconnect. We fixed an issue that would cause family members to not earn kill XP if the victim disconnects during the execution. This was incredibly frustrating when that would happen, when a victim would disconnect during an execution. So I'm very, very happy that we've seen this change here. I figured I'm not going to go through each one of these, but there's various minor UI issues that they have addressed and fixed. So the user interface, it's nice to see some changes there. Just down below that, they've fixed strength attribute description. So now the attribute description includes barging doors as affected by strength, which is really nice. I'm happy they decided to put that in there. They've also fixed Hitchhiker 3 Trap Insta Kill. They also fixed Saboteur Perk and Fuse Box. So now the Saboteur Perk affects the Fuse Box as stated in the description. Continuing down here, they fixed No Cell and Leatherface Revved Up attack. They fixed an issue causing No Cell to not properly trigger when being hit by a revved up chainsaw. I know this was a huge issue, and many players are going to be very happy to see that fix in here. Right below that, we've got Extra Drip Perk Fix. This issue caused the extra drip effect to never end if a victim was healed by a teammate while healing themselves. They've also fixed Grandpa Perks on Equip. So now our Grandpa Perks will stay equipped from match to match and among loadouts and everything like that. So that's really nice, because that was pretty frustrating. And there were plenty of times I spawned into a match and didn't realize my perk had come unequipped. No Cell disabled after being trapped. So fixed an issue that would make No Cell not function as intended after stepping in a hitchhiker trap. They also fixed multiple XP events listed here down below. I just wanted to mention that though. This next one's actually really nice to see. They fixed Grandpa Perk's UI. So this is an issue that caused the Grandpa Perk icon to not be highlighted as active if the level has been skipped by excess feeding. So basically, if you went from like level 1 to level 3, the level 2 Grandpa ability would not be highlighted, which was pretty confusing visually. So I'm very happy to see that that's fixed as well. Just below that, we've got Tourniquet fixed. So thankfully, it will no longer stay active indefinitely if 2 health items are used consecutively. These next few perk changes, I just wanted to go over quickly. Basically, it's somewhat referring to the changes that we're seeing with the R reading. So like, let's take example here for Must Have Been the Wind. We've fixed the perk Must Have Been the Wind to function with the new design change to noise generation. This is related to the change that ping sticks to victims when making noise. So I just wanted to mention that for these few perks here, because that's pretty important. And then this one is one of my favorite changes that I was reading through on the patch notes. They fixed an issue that would lock up a cursor on screen after completing the fuse box puzzle. And we're almost through. Down here, we've got healing traps. So this one was actually kind of funny. They fixed an issue with the damage modifier for hitchhiker traps that would unintentionally heal victims. This upgrade to the trap ability will now function as described in game. That's very nice to see. I'm glad they changed that for sure. They also had loud Leatherface feet, so you would just hear Leatherface's footsteps when he was a little bit further at a longer distance than intended. They've also fixed some stuck spots on the family house, namely the bushes in the front of the family house, and family can become stuck if feeding Grandpa on the bone room side. So very nice they fixed that, especially the Grandpa interaction. That's pretty important. Anyways, those are all the fixed changes that I thought were noteworthy and needed to be mentioned to players for today. Those are all of the patch notes we've got for today. I really do appreciate your time. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to drop a like or consider subscribing, and let me know down below which changes you are excited for as well. Thank you so much for your time, though. I really do appreciate it, and we will see you in the next one. Take it easy.